Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We have a very special guest whom I am very excited to talk to because he has a wealth of knowledge and information on some things that I think everybody can benefit from. He is an author, inspirational speaker, certified financial education instructor, a corporate trainer, and we are happy to have him here on the show. We're going to talk to him on the subject of I Quit Being Broke. Please help me welcome Mr. Paul D. Jones. Paul, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, sir. How are you today?
Doing really good. I am thoroughly excited to talk to you, primarily because the subject matter that you deal with in your work, I think is so necessary for everybody in many generations, because things like financial literacy and having the knowledge and wherewithal to navigate that space is something that we really don't get in our traditional schools. And so from that, we have generations that have just had to go about learning things at their own risk, just trial and error type of learning. So people like you who do this kind of work really help us, because generations that are coming up now can be equipped with so many great tools to get a jump start on their financial success. You have many, many books that you have out. There are a few that I want to cover in our interview. First, there's a title that you published in 2010 called Who Told You You Were Broke? In the dedication to this book, you talked about your mom and how she encouraged you and how you guys overcame many obstacles as it becomes to success and finances. You said something in there that kind of really resonated with me. You said, although we were financially broke, you would not allow me to mentally be broke. You said this is something that your mom did for you. Tell me, what does it mean to be mentally broke?
Mentally broke means you have zero hope. You just, when an opportunity comes in front of you, it's you know what, it's not going to work for me. That doesn't work. So when a person is mentally broke, they don't give anything in life a chance to succeed. So and you see it in personal relationships. I don't care if it's a girlfriend or boyfriend or getting together and thinking about getting married. Well, when they're mentally broke, they all of a sudden start telling each other that the relationship is not going to work. And when we grab a hold to that negative mindset and that negative spirit, number one, we have to understand that some of that is taught and trained to us. So when I speak on the concept of who told you you were broke, that's to get people to question, where did that thought come from? Who told you this? Who told you you couldn't make it? And why did you believe it? So my mother always taught me specifically. She just was like, well, if you want to do it, you can do it. And she really replaced the lack of finances with love. So, and because of that gave me hope. And that's what I really want to get people to say, you know what? There are a lot of people that come to our country right now with nothing at all. No money, no nothing, but they have hope. They have an idea. They come with the thought process that, you know what, if I can just get here, I know this is going to be the land of milk and honey. I know things are going to be better for me. And then that sharpens your work ethic. And once your work ethic is sharpened, keep in mind, if you have a foundation of a positive thought, a foundation of a good thought, combined with a work ethic, well, we know that with that good vision, that good thought, that good imagination of where you want your life to be, couple that with a work ethic, oh man, you're unstoppable. So because we're going to have obstacles in life, we're going to have things not work. Nothing works perfect. And when a person is mentally broke, the minute they hit the first obstacle, they quit. So that's where that's coming from, which is obviously brought us up to our new book. Well, I've seen so many people quit. So I just got to the point and say, well, why don't you quit being broke? Because it is the decisions we make is what brings us the results of our financial stats. And now naturally we can go into it and say, well, some people have some situations in life that cause them to be where they are. But I just know that hey, if you are free, you are not a prisoner, then you can go out and you can make something happen for yourself. But it's a thought process, not anything else.
I totally agree with that. One of my concerns, though, is I know of many people, young people, who some just have the DNA, they have the drive, even when they grow up in homes and environments where the parents aren't necessarily encouraging and their siblings aren't necessarily as driven, they still somehow just get to it and they just see success and they go for it. But then there's some that don't have that framework, they don't have that makeup. How do they, when they don't have the relationships, particularly in their home, how do they begin this changing their thoughts in order to see success in their life?
Mentorship. That's exactly why I write the books. Mentorship. Because a person may not understand or have the environment of success, but they always see someone else who does have some form of success. So what I often do is I tell them, like, hey, let's get that person, let's get them focused in, let's get them mentoring some different information, you know. And I look at it again from my own personal situation. We didn't have money, so my mother couldn't talk to me about money. No one in my family could talk to me about money because no one had any. So then I started studying. I started looking at other information. And then I said, okay. I mean, one of the things I studied, the first, was Joe Kennedy, and John D. Rockefeller. I just started studying their how they made money. People can go into the, an illegal sector, but I'm saying the legal sector of how they made money, how they negotiated deals, how they networked, how they did what they did. And I was reading this thing on John D. Rockefeller, and he said he made every penny count. He taught his son to look at every penny. And then I see rap videos that would say, with the top down, hanging out money in the thing and throwing money away. But I tell a person that doesn't know any better is they have to pay attention to who they're mentoring. Because if you mentor the wrong person, then you're going to get the results of the person that you're mentoring. And in a lot of cases, there's bad leadership or there's bad mentorship out there. So for a person that doesn't have that in their home, but they still have that gut feeling, they still have that gut thing that they know they want, then they're gonna look to outside, and I hope that they will, go read a book like Who Told You You Were Broke. Go read a book like Schedule for Success or I Quit. If they look at that, and then they'll understand that you always hear someone say, well, you got to sit down and create a plan. Well, the number one question is, then what's the plan? Once you identify where you want to be, then we start making those baby steps. So it's like, okay, if it's always have this thing and people, they always look at it funny. Say, well, are you really working for money, or is it something else that you want? And money just helps you get it. Because no one's really working for money, because if you get what I'm saying? So it's like, you wanted a car, so it takes money to get the car. So you needed to understand how to make the money to get the car, how to make the money to make the investment, how to make the money to buy the house. And it's all those things that you say, well, this is the life I want. Okay, so with a house, well, they're going to tell you need 20% down. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, then that's $20,000 you need. Now we can go create a plan that's based on that $20,000. Does that make sense to you? So
Absolutely.
most people say, you know what, man, I'm just trying to buy a house. And I say, well, what's your plan? It's like, man, I don't have any money. Well, great. We've all been there. It's like not having money. When a person tells me I don't have any money, I start laughing. I say, man, been there more than you can imagine. However, because I had a plan, then one plan gets another plan going. So for me, I started an in-home business. So I worked part-time doing street promotions for Universal Records. So I had the marketing side down. Then I was a training operations manager for PepsiCo, which means I trained all the Taco Bell general managers. So I worked at Taco Bell. And when it came down to wanting to buy a home, I realized that the little work that I was doing wasn't bringing in enough. So I started a home business. And I was like, okay, I'm good at marketing. So I started marketing telephone service. Well, that worked out. We marketing long distance service. This is way back in 96, 97. When people were talking 10 cents a minute, 15 cents a minute. Well, we started marketing that. Well, it started working. Everything started working. And before you know it, I had the money that I needed to put down on my home. So, in a plan, if you want to buy a home, then that means you must understand, if a person's listening taking notes, then you must understand a saying or a term called debt to income ratio. You must keep your debt low. You must understand what your credit score is and develop a good credit. So that's why, I'll recommend a company like mycreditisbetter.com, because it's not just about charging a person to help them get better credit. It's about taking on a lifestyle of having better credit. And that's what it's about, because in today's time, like I said, if you want that home, then you got to sit back and say, this is how much money I need. This is what the bank's going to look at to say I need to put down. This is what the mortgage would typically be. Then this is what, you're going to want your furniture in the house. You're going to want everything. So when I tell people to have a plan, I'm not saying just have the plan to get the house. I'm saying go a step further. Not only have a plan to get the house, but have the plan in place to keep the house, retain the house, maintain the house, and enjoy a living. You don't want to get something and be stressing it, because that's when you get frustrated, and then people say, I don't want it no more. Understand what a rate term loan is versus an adjustable rate loan. So we'll hear people say, well, it was predatory lending, it was this and that, and that's what caused the housing boom. No, it was ignorance they called the housing boom. Some people get mad at me for that, but it's ignorance is meaning you just didn't know. It's not a grading on a person. It was just you ignore the information. The information is there. You just ignore the fine-tuned information. So if we know something is going to adjust in 2 to 3 years, and then you can look at your own personal income and see that your income was not going to adjust over the next 2 to 3 years, well, that's like financial literacy and investing and buying a property. We need to understand what financial literacy is. You are literate when it comes to finances. So therefore, if your rate is going to adjust in 3 years, but your income isn't going to adjust, but keep in mind, once the person gets the home, they increase their expenses anyway. So they probably after that bought a car because they want the car with the house to match, or the house with the car to match. Then they probably invited friends over. They probably went and got furniture, and maybe they even charged some of the furniture, and then the rate adjusted. Well, at that point, it becomes unaffordable. So if we can just get people to understand what's going on, then they can make better decisions and have a better lifestyle at the same time. When you own a home business like I did, I didn't even understand how when I did my taxes, I got to write off more. An accountant just showed me, it's like, well, because you started a business, because I was always working, but because I started a business, I got to write off more. It was like I paid less in taxes, but it was really just I got to write things off because you're allowed to invest in your business. You're allowed to grow your business. You're allowed to market your business. So all the things I needed to do, I was able to get that back. And when I got that money back, I was able to pay it forward to expand even more. So once these things started developing, I was like, man, I got to tell people this is crazy. I have to tell people, and I started writing journals. I started writing weekly e-zines, and next thing you know, people started saying, hey, can you write a book? Then we wrote books, and here we are today.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. Get right mentorship, have a plan, and get an understanding. That is good stuff. Now, in your next book, 2012, you published it. It's called Schedule for Success. Turn your schedule into stepping stones for success. Give us the premise of this book.
The whole point with Schedule for Success was to get people to stop procrastinating. If you think about when you go get a job, and people say, oh, man, our boss makes so much money. But when you look at that job or that the owners of those companies make a lot of money, well, you're going to work. They hired you, and they tell you what time to show up. So if we say, you have to be at work at 9 a.m. and you work 9 to 5, Well, they created a schedule, and as long as you do everything that you're supposed to do on that schedule, then there's going to be success. So I got people to say, well, now look at your own personal life. What do you want to schedule to happen? So because on your schedule is going to tell you what the next 6 months will look like. If you have nothing on your schedule today, then that means 1 times 0. It's just simple multiplication. If nothing's on my schedule today, then I reap nothing tomorrow. But if I have a productive schedule, not a busy schedule, because a busy schedule could still mean idleness, means nothing. But if you have a productive schedule today, then that means there's going to be some profits tomorrow. Now, I speak in the book, Schedule for Success, is financials. So yes, if I know that I want to have so many things accomplished in my business world or in my financial life, then there are a lot of things that I need to do today. So if I'm in sales, then today I must have on my schedule many appointments. And I know that it's all a numbers game. So I have to go through those numbers every day through that schedule. But it can't be trial and error. You need to actually pinpoint and have real times with productive meetings on your schedule. So we got that. Likewise, I want to have a great relationship with my daughters, a great relationship with my son. So I schedule time with them. I want to have a great relationship with my wife. Well, I schedule time with her. So because I actually schedule time with them, now we have a successful family. We have a successful home. I have a successful marriage. Likewise with food and health. Well, if you eat wrong, or you're still scheduling the food that goes into your body, well, if you schedule the wrong foods to go into your body over and over and over again, then now obesity and everything else happens. So for me, I got up to about 400 pounds almost. Well, obviously, I'm a lot less today, thank God. But it's simply because I scheduled going to the gym, or I scheduled going walking, and I scheduled what I was going to eat. So instead of just letting things happen in my life, I created a schedule, and anything that I did not want on that schedule, I did not put on that schedule. So to know today, that was on my schedule. If it was not on my schedule, then we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. So with Schedule for Success, I get people to look at life and say, you know what, you want a better life? Schedule it. Yes, it takes some effort, it takes some work, but I want people to see it as simple as that sounds. You want a better life? Schedule it. You want better health? Schedule it. You want more income, more finances, better opportunities coming your way? Put your schedule in position to have that happen for you. Then every day you're out networking and meeting more people because that's written on your schedule. If it's not written on your schedule, then chances are it probably will not happen. But you put odds in favor in your direction when you write the things that you want in your life on your schedule. Just remember, 1 times 0 is 0. If nothing's on the schedule, then nothing's coming to you. If something's on the schedule, you just raise the bar for the financial windfall to come towards your way versus to fall away from it.
I love that perspective. You mentioned having a busy versus productive schedule. Give us a good example of the difference, because I think people miss that.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of times people mistake busyness is having a conversation. So if you and I are in the same business, let's say we are in the food business, and our business is we sell steaks. And if you and I are in the business, we may be busy today, but talking to other people who are already a customer, who already have the steaks. So I'm busy talking to people about it, but I'm not busy growing the business. So therefore I'm not as productive as I could be. So we're busy answering questions. We're busy doing certain things that don't increase you. But when you say, okay, it's time to go into a new market, it's time to expand into new territories, now I need to be busy meeting new people to get new orders. Likewise, I may be busy doing things in my home, but am I really being productive? I'm just being a little busybody, just doing stuff. But if I want to have a productive day, and say my wife's in the house and I'm at home, she's at home, but we're both busy doing other things, so you're not building on that relationship. But when you say, oh, hold on, wait a minute, put on some nice music. Let's be productive, and let's dance and create a memory right here. Just you and I in this house, have fun with life. So it's like you now there's a smile when you leave home. You're happy, So there's just a lot of people I see. They say, "Oh, I'm busy," and they're running around. They're not scheduling. So if I've seen a person say they have to pick their kids up from school, grab the kids to school, then have to run back home to get something else for the kid, which they should have organized themselves and put it in there, then run a kid to a practice, then leave the practice to go run another kid someplace else, and then run back home because now they got to get some. And I'm like, well, you are busy, but you're not being productive. When you think about your day first, you can organize your day so that it works to you in the best benefit. That's all really what it's about, versus just being busy talking to people on the phone about nothing. That's why I tell people I don't even argue with people, because that's not even productive. So someone could be mad at me and they'll come at me and they'll be like, does this guy even fight and argue with people? It's like, no, unless you're going to pay me to argue with you. It's not productive, so we have to fight our right battles, but we must stay productive if things don't work in our way.
Wow, that's good stuff. Now, in your latest title, I Quit Being Broke, which was published in 2015, you say, I realized that being broke is a mental thing, not a financial thing. Take us to that moment when Paul D. Jones realized that being broke was more mental than financial. What took place in your life that gave you that realization?
It's really knowing that, example, you grow up in the same neighborhood with a friend. You know the way that friend thinks, you know the way you think. And you'll hear that friend constantly say it's this person's fault that things aren't happening for you, or if it's that person's fault that things aren't happening, or they have the woe is me spirit, or they gain frankly a victim mentality. It's like, man, whenever a brother gets up, seems like something knocks him back down. And I'm like, I realized that the same stuff was knocking me down too. I just got mentally tough and I fought back. But when you fight back with intelligence, not with your fists. Not with your complaint. You just say, wow, you beat me. I have this thing that if you beat me on something, I turn into an information geek so that I can outsmart you the next time. And it's to make sure that there's a win-win situation for everyone. So mental toughness is what it was about, but realizing that the more education, the more knowledge, the more information you got, the more doors are opened. If you don't get up and look at things from a perspective of, I'm ready to do more, then the minute you do that, you can go to Google and you can just put how to whatever. I don't care if it's my daughter. I remember she came home from college and she was saying that they went to this place and it had Bang Bang Shrimp, it was called. And I was like, oh, girl, I can cook anything. Well, I went on Google and YouTube and got the recipe, saw a guy show how to make it. When her and her friends came in, I told them what kind of dinner was, and I had Bang Bang Shrimp. And they were like, this was better than the restaurant. And I'm like, yeah, because they had my extra love in it. However, that meant I got the information. So I could have easily said, well, I don't know how to make that. And you know what? They would have been right, I would have been right, and that would have been it. I did not know how to make that at that time. However, I went and learned how to make it, and once I seen how to make it, I'm like, oh, yes, I just how you think. Same with life. We say, I quit. Well, we usually quit anything that gets tough. It's what happens. It's like when I'm working out in the gym or doing anything, you want to quit. But then I look at it and say, man, but I want to get in better shape. I want to live a long, healthy life. So I'm not going to quit. So being broke, that means, as I talk to people a lot about being broken, when your spirit is broken, you don't want to do nothing. That's why you have to study the right information. That's why you have to educate yourself. And I'm not always talking when I say educate yourself on going to a college or anything like that. That's why I brought up YouTube and Google. If a person wants to have a better understanding of something, I'll be the first myself to go in and look something up. And it's the same thing that I teach my kids is like, in today's day and age and time, there's no excuse we can give for being ignorant. I do understand that the first time someone asks you what something means, you're not knowing. But the second time they ask you, you should know. And it doesn't cost us anything to get online and find out. We all have smartphones, so let's go be smart.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Wow. Now, you have your author, and you also do another work with your Financial Literacy University. And you cover a few topics that I want to get into a little in depth. You mentioned one earlier as it pertains to credit. Tell us, how important is credit to your financial future, and how can one improve their credit if they've had some issues in the past, maybe from the economic crisis that we're coming out of? How can they go about improving that?
Well, one, credit is everything. And let's take credit away from finances right now for a moment. What most people don't realize today is that to get a good job, they look at your credit. Insurance, they look at your credit. So most people think that credit is just based on getting a credit card to buy something, to buy a car, to buy a home. No, to work, say in the kids' athletic program. So I was on the athletic board, and they do a background check. Well, a part of that background check is also intertwined with your credit check. So if everything comes back bad, then you can't even help with your kids' sporting events. And it's because it shows some shady characters the way I believe they perceive it. Those are not, that's not written anywhere, but I'm just saying the way I perceive it. That it's like, it must show some form of shady character to the people who said, let's check people's credit to be able to help on their kids' sports things. So those are things that have nothing to do with finances in a sense. That's just functioning in life. To rent an apartment, not buy, but rent. They're going to check your credit. To rent a house, they're checking your credit. It goes on and on and on. So we have to get people to realize that as you're out applying for a job, it's easy for a person, and then think about this, for a person to say, well, once I get this job, I'll be able to pay my bills, and then my credit will be good again. Well, now, can you imagine? The job checks your credit before they hire you. So that means you have to have good credit before then, because it's all about preventive maintenance. So we have to teach our youth, our young, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, everything about credit right now. And it's funny that it's not taught in schools. Maybe in some private schools, if you know what I mean. But it's not taught in a regular public school. It should be a whole course. Now, they'll teach you about geography. They'll teach you about, the Boston Tea Party and all these things, and we do need to know this. But you're not taught the bare necessity of what gets you a roof over your head and that you have to sign a document on, which is credit. To get a bank account, checking account, they're going to check your credit. So your credit is checked all the time. So your second question was, how do you get good credit? First thing to get good credit is to just simply start paying everything on time. So the biggest part of credit is payment history. So if you say, you know what, I'll negotiate and I'll work with stuff, but I'm going to start paying everything right now. The moment you start paying stuff, now that time ticker starts over again, and that works with you to say, okay, now since this date, your credit is it's shown that you've regrouped yourself. Now, don't think that just because you have bad credit, you can't get a loan or you can't get the things that I described. You can. Credit also means they can charge you more. So think about that. You want to have good credit to save money, because a person in today's time, you can look and you can live in the same neighborhood, work the same job, make the same exact money, but because one person has less than great credit and another person has so-called great credit, the person whose credit isn't so good, yes, they still qualify for the home. They still qualify for the car. They still have even the credit card. The difference is they pay more in interest. So you are penalized in a sense for showing that your credit isn't so good. Whereas a person with good credit, now they can take that excess cash and they can do other things with it, like pay off the debt faster. Does that make sense? Once you can pay off the debt faster, when your debt's low, now you have funds to go and create wealth. So maybe you want to buy a rental property, an investment property. Maybe you want to put more money in your growth mutual fund or a growth IRA, something that's really competitive and growing with the market long term. Maybe you want to do all of those things. Well, when you're living with bad credit and you have the exact same stuff, well, now you can't even put money or invest in your retirement because you're paying someone else's retirement in the form of high interest. You still got everything you wanted. You still took the vacation. You still have the house, the car, and everything else. But now you have to pay late. It's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So credit is so important, and it's the main foundation to saving money when it comes to whenever you have to get a loan. You would rather be shopping for a good loan than just praying and thanking God, which is a contradiction, for a bad loan. It's like, you got a terrible loan. Yes, you got the house. Yes, you got the car, and you feel good because you got caught up in an emotional buying habit. But unfortunately, you're overpaying it. So having good credit helps you save more money so that you can enjoy your money to put in some other areas to enjoy your life better.
Real good stuff. I want to dig a little deeper into something because I know of some people who are in this kind of situation. They've had good credit in the past and just here recently have been dealing with some things and got behind. Of course, we understand that you don't want to get into different loans if you can help it until you clear that up. But at what point can you, because I know they stay on your credit report for a certain period, is there a way that you can get it off? Say, for instance, you pay off the debt and you close out the card or the loan. Are there any avenues that they can take to get that cleaned up faster so they can go into it?
Absolutely. You can always talk to the company you're negotiating with, and they may even be willing to take certain things off, to say, okay, well, when we pay this, can you take that off my credit and just put it satisfied? And you always want to put closed at cardholders' request or closed at your request, not their request. So it looks better, because what happens is when another lending institution or something else is looking, then they'll look at the notes inside there. It may say, requested closed by, owner, or cardholder, et cetera, if it's a credit card. So that works. If it's a institution where you could actually speak to the person, about it, there's always a negotiable in there. You can always negotiate with it. And if some things aren't right, then you dispute it. And that's where mycreditisbetter.com comes in. They will dispute stuff and beat that company up for you if it's not right. So because it's about understanding the laws that are there. That's why they have what's called a Fair Credit Act. It's making sure that things are fair for you, the consumer, and you have to have people who understand that, because, after so much time, something can only stay on your credit report for 7 years. But if you go and say, and I'll tell people this, if something's on your credit report for 6.5 years, and then someone calls you and says, we just need you to start making the payments on this, and you just say, okay, I'm doing better, I'll start paying it. Well, now that 7-year period just started over. So I would be like, I can't acknowledge this debt. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but let me look into it. And then from there, it's like, wait the 7-year period, and then you work with a company and say, hey, the law states this. So just do things within the law. And what people don't realize is there are a lot of good things that are there for a consumer, but the consumer must know the law. And that's where My Credit is Better, a company like mycreditisbetter.com comes in and helps people really, they call it credit care because there's no really such thing as credit repair. But it's credit care. There's people who care about your credit and to help you do the right ethical things to help put you in the right position.
That's good. Now, the next point I want to get to is real estate. You cover that also in your financial literacy university. I know for many years we as Americans particularly look at real estate as the gateway to financial wealth. Is that still true today?
It is in a form, depends on how you're looking at it. The way I teach real estate in the financial literacy universities is from the standpoint of getting a person to look at, putting their money in the bank. I go over a section there called Become the Bank. And if you can become the bank, you got to realize that someone is going to need some place to live. So then I say that's an option to get more interest on your money. See, most people, when they invest or do something, they don't understand investing, that you want to make money from your money. So a typical savings account is going to pay you less than 1%. But let's say you save up money and you buy a house for $50,000 and you pay cash for it. But for 10 years, you might have saved $5,000. Over $5,000 a year, you put up $400 or $500 a month. And this is kind of the concept of a husband and wife with a plan, working together. I even tell young folks how to do this, starting at a young age. Put up as much as you can. If it's $20 a week, and I got that $20 a week thing from looking at the Rent-A-Center commercial one day. Said for just $20 a week, you can get this flat screen TV, and then, me, I'm a call. So I said, well, can you pay it off early? They said, nope. So they are basically selling you a TV for double the price, but the only thing you see is $20 a week, and people fall for it. So I started telling people, then save $20 a week. That's $100 a month, $1,200 a year then. Great. As you get older, your credit's good, you do more things, you leverage yourself, you get a job, now you increase it. Well, let's say you go and you get a house and it's $50,000, and you rent that 3-bedroom home out for an average of $1,000 a month. In some areas you could get $1,200, some areas it may only be $900. So I'll say just $1,000 a month. Let's say you're not a real estate expert. You're not any of that. You're just a person who bought a house and you were able to put yourself in a position to buy it free and clear. Well, now you pay a property manager $200 a month maybe to manage everything, collect the rent, and do everything. Well, you have $800 a month. That's $10,000 a year. Now you take that $10,000 a year, you put it up. Now I'll give an example in where I grew up in Beloit, Wisconsin, and I was born in Rockford, Illinois. There are so many decent 3-bedroom homes, 2 to 3 bedroom, even 4-bedroom homes, from the $30,000 to $50,000 range. So I show the person that every 2 years to 3 years, you buy another house. Before you know it, you get to 50, you're ready to retire. 55, you're ready to retire. Well, you've gotten 10 homes over that course of your life, 10 homes. Some people will say, well, you know what, the property value isn't increasing. I don't care if the property value doesn't increase. I took $50,000 and I make $10,000 off of that. That's more than market value. So how much do you want to make when you're retired? So every house means $10,000. So you want two houses, you make $20,000 a year. 3 houses, you make $30,000 a year. 4 houses, you make $40,000 a year. 5 houses, you make $50,000 a year. And that's it. It may have taken you 20 years to do that. But keep in mind, you also have $250,000 in the property. If all you have was 5 homes that average $50,000, that means you put up $250,000. But you have the revenues from that coming. You can, and whenever you want to sell it, you could go offer somebody a heck of a deal. They'll say, well, you bought this house for $50,000 10 years ago, and you're selling it now for that. And you'll laugh and say, they'll say, what's wrong? And you just laugh and you say, I've made $10,000 off this house, and I get my $50,000 back. It's no such thing as free money, but doesn't that sound like free money to you?
Absolutely.
So if we're not taught financial literacy, then we'll look at life as if it's hard. So I'm sitting there and tell people, like, don't be impressed with the way I live. Let me show you how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole attitude is I was just willing to outwork anyone. But I was doing it thinking through the actions. If you think through the actions of what you're doing, then you're going to make better thoughts. You're going to make better decisions. And that's the difference. So it's some people look at real estate as, they want to go and, tear out a wall and knock out walls and do this and that and then sell it over faster. And I didn't look at it from that standpoint. I don't have the time to knock sheetrock out. I'd rather just go buy a decent home, and the person's going to put up a security deposit and whatever. And, yeah, there's going to be some money that you'll have to maybe at times put up, and upgrade the appliances in the home or something like that. But that's minor. So out of your $800 a month, maybe you take another $100 and say, I'm putting $1,200 to $2,000 a year back into this property, and then the homeowner has renter's insurance and everything else because that's in your rental agreement. And then I teach people, and never rent to people you know. If you rent to people you know, then it's going to be easier for them to come and explain to you why they don't have the money to pay you. So if you rent to someone, let the property manager earn their keep. They'll find the person. They'll get them in there. And the property manager makes $100 a month off that property, or $200 a month, $150 a month off that property also. It's a win-win. But you have the principal, you have the interest. So if your interest means out of $50,000 that you invested, you make $700 to $800 a month. Well, there is no fund out there right now that you can take $50,000 and make $10,000 a year off of. That's why I tell people, is it that you couldn't find a job, or is it that you're not scheduling for success? All in how you look at it.
Absolutely. Wow, that is some good stuff. We touched on credit. We touched on real estate. Now I want to touch on something that I think a lot of people are more open to than in years past, and that's business ownership or entrepreneurship. What's that all about, and how can that play a role in our financial success?
Well, I always ask people, entrepreneurship, that's what I am. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love being in control. I love working with people. I love networking with people to build a business. And I always ask people one honest question. Who do you think makes the real money in this country? Owners or employees? And the answer is always, without a doubt, owners do. Right. So therefore, even when you go to work for your company, don't look at it as you work for them. Start looking at it as it works for you. So when I worked at Taco Bell, I didn't just work for Taco Bell. Taco Bell worked for me. And it worked for me because I had some bigger plans. So that worked for me because it would help me get to the next level where I wanted to be. And then from there, once you become an entrepreneur, now you control your destiny. The reason I love being an entrepreneur is because there is no set rate. You can make as much as you want. It's all determined to your grind, your hustle, what you're going to do. And for me, I chose the home business industry. I love it. I love talking to people. I have a passion to help a person win. And once I understood the numbers that more people are successful from their home businesses today than any other industry on the planet right now. And I'm like, wow, people don't know this. And when you have a simple home business versus a brick and mortar business, it's easier to maintain. It's faster to start. You can start a business from $20 to $2,000 or $3,000, and that's all something that person can do right from home. So most people look and say, well, I don't know what to start. Well, for me, my first business, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I shoveled snow in Wisconsin. I remember my mother asked me, I was about 13 years old, she asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I told her I wanted a snowblower. Well, all the other kids was wanting toys. This was the Atari age, when Atari was big back then. All the other kids want toys. I was like, I want a snowblower because I understood. Mom, if you get me this snowblower, I will be able to go shovel more walks than anybody else, and I'll be able to do it faster. So sure enough, people thought I was absolutely crazy. They would say, Paulie Paul, that's what they called me back then when I was, a little guy. Paulie Paul. Paulie Paul, what you get for Christmas? I got a snowblower. A snowblower? And my mama said, that's what he wanted. Yes, I got me a snowblower. And after that, every time it snowed, it was Christmas for me. So I went out before it snowed, and I would knock on people's doors, and I said, when it snows, I will come do your snow and blow your walk off and clean it up real good, and then I'll come when I get out of school and collect my money. Is that okay? They said, yeah. So it would snow. I would be like a fireman in my snow boots next to my bed. My mother would come say, she would come do me a favor. I said, Mama, if it snows, you got to wake me up so I can get out and do the neighbors' walks. It would snow. I would jump out that bed so fast, I would be out there, and I was doing it. 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 13 years old, I'm out blowing snow. Go to school. Kids in school are saying, hey, it snowed a lot. Y'all guys want to get some shovels and go do it? I just look back and smile at them. Because after school, I may go clean up a few walks, but I was just collecting my money. So every time it snowed, it was Christmas for me. And that's being an entrepreneur. I didn't know I was being an entrepreneur then, but that was being an entrepreneur. See, I didn't wait for someone's 9 to 5. I created the 9 to 5. And then from there, I realized that the more I wanted, I had to be willing. As an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you start your own business and sit down. It means you start your own business and then go get busy. Start working, start going for it. And that's what it's about. I absolutely enjoy entrepreneurship. I teach it. I'm a consultant for several other companies. I'm on the board of companies. It's my passion because I would rather provide a job than ask for a job. And that's just my character. And I believe that there are a lot of people out here that don't know they have a gift or don't know that there's a home business they can go work in and start, and that can change their whole life. I don't care if it's just simply to pay for your kids' college tuition. Do something extra now so that you can have a better life tomorrow.
Wow, that's good. Now, something else you touch on in business, you touch on leveraging business growth. Now, this is something that really interests me because what exactly does that mean, and how do you know when you're at that place where you have that, where it's beneficial for you to leverage it?
Well, you'll know real quick when it's time to leverage. It's when you can't think. You're working and you're doing so much, and you start double booking. Because this is exactly what happened to me. You start double setting appointments. You start doing things. It's almost like you can't breathe. And then you realize that it's like, whoa, I need to bring somebody else on to help me better organize this, to help me stay scheduled. So I give an example of if you're cutting lawns. So let's say you cut 5 lawns a day on your own. You get up every day. There's 5 lawns. You cut $20 a piece. So you make $100 a day. Great. Monday through Friday, you do it. You make $500 a week. You have $100, a day you're making. Now you're doing such a good job. Neighbors tell other people. You're speaking to other folks. Now you need more. So you bring someone on and you tell them, hey, I'll pay you $10 a lawn. Great. So now they make $50 a day. Well, you take the other $10. Now you make $150 a day. You're still doing the ones you were doing, but now you got someone else to leverage to do the other ones for you. Now you keep on leveraging 4. Now you got more lawns. So now you're making $200 a day. You're still doing the ones you were doing, but now you have others doing more. Eventually, you will pay someone $10 per lawn for the ones that you originally did. You still have your operations going, but now you're making 3 times as much, and you're more managing and organizing, and it goes on and on. So every time it gets busier, and that's when you may hire a sales rep, and that person is just going to people to get more, and then you hire more labor. So it's one of those things that when you start feeling like you're failing your clients, then it's time to bring on more help. And you can't be selfish and you can't be greedy. So therefore, you have to set the bar what you're going to pay yourself as an entrepreneur. One of the ways that entrepreneurs fail is they take 100% of the day's earnings, and they do it like I'll pick on barbers for a minute, not to say pick on barbers, but I'll use them as an example. A barber will go and get $20. He'll cut maybe 10 heads that day. That barber made $200. But if that barber takes that $200 and put the entire amount in his pocket, and then he goes out, he goes to get something to eat, goes and does something else, before he knows it, he spent $60 to $70 already. So not knowing your regular upkeep, your chair costs, and everything else that you need to do. So now you need to organize your money so that when your money comes in, you don't spend it all out, because now you created a self-employed position where that's just now the job owns you or the business owns you. You want to stay leveraged, so that way you can see what you can do and invest so that you can now go and expand your operations. A portion of your money, I usually would say 20% when you're an entrepreneur, is always set towards the future for you to advance your company.
Well, before we get out of here, I just want to get a couple of tips and tools that you may have for people, since tax season is upon us and a lot of people are getting this lump sum of money. What kind of tips or tools would you offer them to actually prepare that money so they can maybe have it accumulate for them, or as opposed to going and buying big things or spending it all at once?
Right. It's already said. Most people that receive tax money within 30 to 45 days, that money's gone, and they usually have spent it all on liabilities, meaning things it takes away. They'll look good for a little bit. It's just an emotional fix. What you want to do with that tax money is you want to live as if you didn't get it, for one. But for those who say, man, I'm trying to save for a home, think about, if you take that money, the average tax return is around the $3,000 mark. If a person could take that money, treat yourself a little bit, maybe take $300, $400 and do something with it, but put the $2,400 in a growth fund and let that money grow for you. That's how you start to say, you know what, honey, we're going to get an investment property. We're going to buy at least one house, so we'll have an extra $800 a month coming in, have an extra $600 a month coming in. You know, the tax money right there is money to help you do exactly that. So, and always have a plan for the tax money before you get it, a well-written out plan that you'll execute, because whenever you receive money without a plan, then you just spend the money on random things that you didn't even plan for. So, and that's where we say, man, I wasn't even planning to spend money that way. Right, you did not plan to spend money that way, so therefore your money went away unplanned for. So if you plan for it, the things that you want, you'll actually have. But anything that you don't plan for, you must realize there are major marketing companies out here. There are great kids that have graduated, or people who have graduated from college with master's degrees in marketing and in psychology, and they understand the behaviors of how people think and act. So therefore, they're going to market to you because it's business. They know you have an extra $2,000 or $3,000. Well, you might as well understand that the big company got some good marketing people together, and they got in cahoots to say, go get your $3,000. You get emotional, you get excited, and you go and give your money away. 60 days later, they don't know you, and your money's gone. Plan for your future with your tax dollars. That's the best thing you can do.
Well, this has been great. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. You have given us some tools and keys that will stay with us for generations, for those who really embrace it and take it on. So I appreciate you for that.
Hey, I'm very thankful, sir, and bless you, and thank you for the time to speak with me.
Thank you. Well, this has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.